Hi, I'm Alan Anthony. My friends call me Al. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about oils. Oils of the past, oil of the present, snake oils and things that just did work and didn't work. Anyway, I've got my car here all loaded down with oil cans that I collect. So I want to show you some of the oil cans. I have a Mobil oil. This is probably the oldest one I have. Notice the gargoyle on it. That was their symbol back in the 30s and 40s. And anyway, Mobil Oil came out of Standard Oil. It was New Jersey, I guess it was New York. Anyway, it had Saucony Vacuum, which was the company that was their mother company. And the gargoyle had to scare the daylights out of kids when you're driving by their stations. Had to. So they switched to the famous flying horse. So somebody in their marketing department decided to make something happy. Kids could drive by and go, "Let's get this gas, Mom." Anyway, Mobil Oil. This is 1940s. Anyway, and it's full. These cans are all full. The oil companies were everything you could think of. Valvoline was the first oil company to produce an oil that was useful for engines and so forth. They used it on the oil on the rods of train engines for the steam engine, for the piston. That rod went in and out. It lubricated it and it worked. And it created a whole world. He originally used it on, he was a doctor and he used it on people's wounds. And that didn't do any good. It probably did more harm than good. Who knows what happened to those people. But that was over 100 years ago. So anyway, they moved on, became so big and so forth. And Ashland and them grew to where, when I was a kid, Valvoline was number one in my neighborhood. A friend of mine had a sticker in his garage, Valvoline Racing Oil, and I thought it was cool. And I used Valvoline because of that sticker. It works good. No cutting it down or anything, but that was the reason I used it. I used Valvoline as a kid because of a sticker in a friend's garage, and that was the only reason I started using Valvoline. It's good oil. I know it's good, and I used it for years and years and years, but it was based on that sticker that started it. There's a lot of good oils. There's a lot of modern oils that are good and so forth, and that's what started this. I researching oils just recently, but it made me bring out all the old stuff and start talking about it. Engine oils that were, as a kid, STP. This is 1960. It's full. It was Magic STP. It was the miracle stuff, and all it is thick oil and so forth, but it's sticky and it works on things that you want oil to stick to. I have a can over here of Richard Petty Colors 1973 or so, STP, the blue and the red and so forth. Beautiful cans. It's full, a gallon of it. Anyway, as I was a kid, Bardol was big. The Unser brothers, Bardol, racing oil, just was cool. So, you know, you pick things by that. And then 76 was from California. Sunoco bought them and they got merged into it and so forth. But we love 76 in the California area and so forth. Oilsum was the first racing oil considered racing. Indianapolis cars use Oilsum. That guy was the chauffeur for the guy that started Oilsum. This is a picture of his chauffeur on there and became his symbol. And he drove him around in his car. We have oils here that are California Winds, Justice Brothers, and so forth. And I'm from California. I'm from Los Angeles. My wife is too. So kind of collected things that were nostalgic for us from California. Richfield had the first gas station in Los Angeles, and it's still there to this day. It's been modernized and so forth, but they had the first gas station. And when I was a kid, they had the Atlantic Richfield merged. Atlantic being back east in Richfield in California, they merged, and there was a gas station on Reseda and Roscoe in the San Fernando Valley that had a 20-foot long neon sign. And I asked my dad if I could have it. They took it down and had it on the ground. And my dad thought I was nuts. Thing would be worth $1 million now, 10,000, I don't know. Anyway, I was just planning on having a whole bunch of kids carry it down the street and put it on our side yard. He said no. Anyway, I didn't get it. So anyway, I want to talk to you about Snake oils. We had a famous snake oil company that was in Azusa, California, and they had the most beautiful cans. The cans were 5 colors in a can. You got pink, yellow, green, just amazing. White. How much color they would put in their cans, and people would buy it. But this stuff was actually, this is STP. This is thick as a brick right in here. It's the same as STP, but they had all kinds of stuff. They had a little test that they did, and they still, snake oil salesmen will do it today, where they put this one, they put a bearing, the ground up bearing on a thing, and then they pour that stuff on, and then they run the bearing against another surface. They pour the oil on it, and it stops making any noise. And it was paraffin. Paraffin is used to trick people, but paraffin will run towards heat. But the problem is clog the motor up with paraffin, and then the oil would be restricted to the motor, and the motor would end up burning up. The most notorious was Pennzoil, original Pennzoil. This is a full can from 1940s. It was a Los Angeles company that imported the oil out of Pennsylvania, and it had paraffin in it. And the paraffin is natural in the ground, and they make candles out of the stuff, and it will clog your engine up. Anyway, that is a problem, and Texaco was the first one to get the paraffin out of the oil to make the oil useful. Quaker State had paraffin problem. I think they've merged now. I'm not sure. But back to this one, when I was a kid, they used to have a genie sign, a giant genie laying on the ground in Azusa. It was a neon sign. It was so awesome. We're on the way to the LA County Fair, and this thing was on the ground. And I asked my dad about it. He was the one that told me about this company. This is Dry Power, which, why would you call something Dry Power when you're lubricating? I don't know. But it sold for years. They opened it in 1935, and it went into the 1960s, and then it went away. But there were so many companies that were making snake oil or just lubricants, and the good ones and the bad ones, the good ones are still around. But when you're buying oil for your car, you go into the auto parts store and you look at all these products, you go, oh, will this work? Will this work? Will this work? Check it out. See if it's worth putting in your car, even today, because there could be damage being done to your car by some of these products. I had a friend that used, I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want to get sued, but he took this whole line of products. It was Rod Hines Fuel Alter Driver. He got a kit from this company. It was free. Total rehab of your oils. So he changed all his oils in his trucks and his trailers, the grease on his wheel bearings, and he traveled back east to do a drag race. And his trailer, the bearings burned up, the engine started leaking, the rear end on the car or on the truck started leaking, and it spilled all his stuff out. He had to stop and change all the fluids in it. But he got caught up in believing this oil was good. Mobil 1 is a great oil. All these oils are, there's a lot of good products on the shelf. And some of the older companies, you know that they're good because they're still there and they didn't get sued out of business. So anyway, I've been careful trying to figure out what oil to use in my Malibu, which I just rebuilt the motor on. And so I started studying. I went online on the internet and found a guy that did a study on oils. And he says that the number one oil that did all his tests, he's an engineer and a drag racer, he said it was this one. Quaker State Full Synthetic. So I got some, I put it in my Malibu. Now, this is not an ad for it. I don't know for sure, but if you know anything about it, let me know. But this had problems back in the 60s in their old oil with paraffin. They don't have any paraffin in this. But it was just amazing because I was never, there was nothing cool about Quaker State. I mean, you got to be cool. Quaker State? Well, I'm using it. So I'm trying it. Anyway, I was going to do Mobil 1. They're high-end race oil, but don't need it. I've got a roller cam in my car. I don't have a flat tapper can, so I don't need the zinc. But there's probably zinc in it, but a smaller amount. And so anyway, it probably didn't have any zinc at all because it's for catalytic converters. So just to show you a few of the cans I have here, Stay Power. State Power sponsored a car, NASCAR in 1972, a Torino, a beautiful car. It was driven by Bobby Isaac. My dad sold this stuff, and I used to tease him about it because I thought it was snake oil, and I was only 17 years old, and they got taken off the market by the government basically because they did tests on this stuff, and when you had to pass smog, and this stuff caused more problems than it did any good. The gas conditioner, the oil was just STP again. It was just that thick oil. I want to show you this can. The oil drips, Boy and Girl oil drips. The commercials in the 60s were so cool for these things that now this is just a collector item. This is an empty one. It's one of my only empty ones. Somebody used it, it's all gone. Anyway, Esso was Eastern Standard Oil Company, and this was when it was merged with Exxon. And Exxon, I don't remember all the things, but there's oil mergers in all this. The Standard Oil broke up and it became like 7-8 companies and so forth, and it created a whole world of oils, and we have different brands that came out of it, and it was good. This one, but Miracle Power. Love their marketing. Miracle Power. That's putting in it. Oh, I'm gonna have a miracle, and this motor that's broke down. But this is what graphite oil, which came out. Mobil had a graphite oil before Mobil 1, and it clogged motors up with graphite. I think that's what happened on graphite. Graphite's a great natural lubricant, but it will clog your engine up. But people kept trying to keep it from doing that. But this is back in the 40s, I guess. I can't remember what this can was from, but cool can. This is a company that was in New York, Los Angeles, and St. Louis. And so let's go over here, and I'll take you to my other can. So here's more of my oil can collection. Different reasons for it, colors, marketing, interesting, things that people tried. Here's my only Standard Oil, because Standard Oil is highly collected, but phenol sounds like a drug. But this was their household oil. This was the biggest oil company in the world at one time. And this is years gone by, but Standard Oil is still on the East Coast in different places and so forth. But they divided up into all these different companies. Flying A was Associated Oil in California, which got merged into, I can't remember who, but they're still there, and their stock just split and did whatever. And now it's just a different company. But Exxon or whatever they were. But anyway, those companies, the 7 original companies that got split up by the government, are all big oil companies still. Conoco was Continental Oil Company. They all had longer names back in the day, and they had long scripts on their gas stations and so forth. They just weren't names that meant nothing to people. Continental Oil and all the brands. Anyway, on my ceiling, I have cans that are 5-gallon cans, and I have the STP over here on the left, which is rare. Who would have 5 gallons of STP? And by the time you sold all that STP, would it be dirty, the last batch? I don't know. I wouldn't buy 5 gallons. Anyway, this is DX from Oklahoma, where I live now. And DX got, Sunoco bought them also, and they're gone. But here's a 5-gallon of Valvoline from the 1940s or 50s, I believe. And Invader Oil, which is a company that was cool, but it was just cool because it was cool. It didn't really do anything great. And then Gimmick Oil, Booster Oils, and so forth. There's different ones I have. But Kendall is over here to my left. Kendall was, they sponsored Don Garrett's drag racer, and it became popular. And it was good oil, and I think they're still around, but I'm not sure if they got bought by somebody and they're just merged into something. And then a 5-gallon of Richfield, which was California. And so in closing, I just want to say, if you have any comments, let me know. If you know of anything of the history of oils and so forth that's interesting, give it to me. If you're in England, I would love to hear in England what you had for weird oil, the Werewolf of London Oil Company, whatever it is. If you have anything, share it. if you're in New Zealand or Australia or Japan, anybody in Finland, Norway, there's kind of a connection on the cars for all these countries. So that's why I ask if you have anything cool. And the final, Motormaster engine cure, 59 cents. Cool, huh?